Welcome back. We all knew it was going to happen. David and Jordan on a 2-on-1 date with Becca. It ended up being pretty much what we expected. And here to dish on that disaster and all the other craziness in last night's episode is Leslie from 106.3 The Groove. And Leslie, it's nice to have you. I figured we'd start also with a personal update. My sister, who lives in Scottsdale, ran into a past Bachelorette contestant from this season, actually.
Yeah?
Clay. Was at the Riot House in Scottsdale. There he is, and she said hi to him. He gave her a big hug, and that he was all over this mystery blonde girl.
Okay, well, he's single. He left.
You're right, he is.
Well, he's even better looking than you see on the show.
You're a big fan of him.
I like Clay a lot. He just seems like a really nice guy and stand-up guy that, he left because of the injury. So I like him, so that's cool.
He had to preserve his health.
He did.
So let's get into last night's episode.
I will say, so yesterday on my show, I predicted that Becca was going to send both guys home, both David and Jordan. So I won't say what happens yet, but I wanted to put out there I predicted that was going to happen. So first, though, we go to Vegas, and Colton finally gets a one-on-one date, which is awesome. He's like my front runner. And they've had some issues in the beginning, kind of getting the relationship off to a good start. But they get to go on a one-on-one. And very unlike Vegas, they go on a camel ride. And shocking to anyone who watched The Bachelor or Bachelorette, there's a hot tub. What?
Right in the middle of the desert.
Right in the middle of the desert. Like, there's always a hot tub, at least one or two, anytime during the season.
I hope at least it was a cool day when they were shooting this.
I hope so, too. I know in the middle of the desert it was 110 degrees. Let's go to the hot tub.
I'd want an ice bath instead. But when I was watching this personally, I said, they actually have some steamy chemistry.
They really do. There was a connection there all along, but they had issues. But at dinner, he opens up about how he had just gotten out of a relationship about a year ago. And he kind of, very similar to what happened to her, he told the woman he loved her and she never returned it back to him and eventually broke up with him. And so he's very guarded about using the word love or even saying, I'm falling in love. Those are really tough. And he said he associates the word love with pain now as well as happiness, which concerns Becca, of course, because you don't want to hear that.
Well, yeah, she said she hated that. A couple other notes I made was, is he a weird kisser? They were kissing, and I thought he looked kind of funky what he was doing. But the biggest takeaway from this was that she likes him.
Oh, she really likes him. You can tell. Oh, yeah. And he got the rose. They got to go on a double-decker bus down the strip and stuff. I mean, they get to do fun things, of course. But, yeah, so in the meantime, we find out who's going to be on the group date, which is everyone except for David and Jordan, which we quickly find out that means they're going on the 2-on-1 dates.
Foreshadowing.
And David is a little obsessed with Jordan. Like, he won't stop talking about him or the underwear that Becca had given him. And he asks him, are you going to wear the golden underwear that Becca gave you on the 2-on-1 date? And Jordan was like, look, I'm concentrating on Becca on this date. And he tells us, David's head is in my underpants, which was the quote of the season for me.
Best quote. And we'll get to that, his bullying tactics a little later. But that group date.
At group date, they pull into a huge compound of Wayne Newton of Vegas. I mean, I got to say, though, like, there is a line with way too much plastic surgery, and he has way crossed it.
I think he was slurring some of his words, but the biggest thing I thought was National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation. You know what I'm talking about? Wayne Newton was definitely in that in force. He looks sort of the same, but I think you're right. It's because of that plastic surgery.
He had them write love songs to his famous song, Dunkashane, about Becca. And so they had to perform it in front of a live audience. Talk about pressure for these guys.
And awkward.
They had fun, though. It was bad. I get just but the guys really got into it. Chris really got into it, got the crowd into it. He was feeling pretty cocky, too. Like, I got this. And, Becca and I are at a different level, which whenever a guy says that, you're like, be careful. Like, he got so cocky that at the cocktail party, he was like, you know what? She's going to talk to me. Like, he didn't feel a need to have to go and talk to her. In the meantime, these other guys are making connections with her. She really has a connection with Garrett. But Blake now has, like, rocketed to the top because they were gone for like 40 minutes. And he told her, I'm starting to fall in love with you. And unlike the last guy who said it, her reaction was complete opposite. She's giddy, she's excited. She came back and said, basically, I'm sorry I didn't have time to talk to you, AKA Chris.
Right.
And gives Blake the rose, which Chris now is freaking out about this.
Well, this just makes me think Chris is deluded, man. Why are you playing hard to get on a date that you're trying to go for the girl on?
Exactly. And then Chris
get upset.
Chris gets upset and basically tells all the guys, maybe I should leave. Maybe I shouldn't be here anymore if she's not interested in me. Another mistake you make, don't say that in front of all the guys because it will get back to Becca.
Right, of course. Are you kidding me? It's like telephone in there, and it's going to get back 10 times worse, which we found on the one-on-one date, too, is that David was sort of making up things that Jordan was saying.
Well, he wasn't necessarily making them up, but he, I think, probably said a little, like, exaggerated, because now we do go on the 2-on-1 date, which was very awkward. She, of course, was like, usually these are weird, I don't want them to be. So they go to the Valley of the Fire. Beautiful. The first thing that was off is she's like, enjoy the silence. And literally half a second before David won't shut up.
Yeah.
And on and on and on and on. So then she kind of like, whatever. She takes David aside, and he talks all about Jordan and about how Jordan isn't there for her. He said he's settling for her, and about how he was talking about these women in the casino and who he wanted to date and stuff. So he told all of that to Becca, which the settle word really got to her. And so she asked Jordan about it, and Jordan was like, he's a liar, I never said that. Though later he kind of said, I was joking about the girls in the casino. But she gets frustrated with them. All three sit down. Before this, Jordan, by the way, goes off on David. But in between, she comes back, sits down, and asks them both what's going on. And it became like, again, she said, I'm in 6th grade. They were both arguing back and forth with each other. She got up and laughed because she's just like, this ridiculous.
Well, David was obviously the aggressor. I mean, he just reminded me of a high school bully. I mean, we all had them, or at least I did, and he just reminded me of that. Jordan, he kind of let it happen. He kind of fueled it, but David was the real.
And David got sent home. She said, look, this is where our time ends, but she's not ready to give the rose to Jordan. She wants to know more about him because she doesn't know if there's a connection. She laughs with him, but every time they've kissed, it's super awkward. And that's exactly what happened. He asked her about what she does on the weekends, she says, and then she asked him, and it was all about him and his modeling, his skincare, his hair care, more modeling. I wish my portfolio was here for you to see. I mean, she was like, seriously, like that's all he talked about. And then he came up and kissed her, and it was so awkward. Like she literally kind of pushed him away and was like laughing, saying, oh, I thought you were going to show me like that you had the golden underwear on. So nice play by her to get rid of him. And then says, I'm not giving you the rose.
Well, there is a girl out there for Jordan. It's just not Becca.
Right. Yeah, maybe he'll look at this and go, well, maybe that's why she didn't like me, because I talk about myself the whole time.
To reevaluate what's going on. And then this next portion, I have to say, is one of the most awkward things I've watched on TV, because Chris and Wills had it out.
Yes.
That comes a little later in the
when the cocktail party happens, and Chris and Becca talk, and Becca's not happy with him. She heard about what he said about going home, and she's like, you didn't come talk to me, like, and she's like, I need to ponder a lot of this stuff, and walks away pretty mad, which freaks Chris out about. So he goes and interrupts her and Wills, who just sat down. And Wills, a really nice guy, goes, I'm giving you 2 minutes. He walks away and comes back like a minute later and goes, that's it, man. That's it.
Time's up.
And Chris is like, this is serious. And he's like, my time isn't. And he goes, I'm telling you one more time politely to get up out of the couch. And they just stared at each other, and I was like, oh, awkward.
I liked Chris before. Now he is completely written off in my head.
Oh,
yeah. He acted like a crybaby.
Yes.
He wasn't a gentleman. Wills was a gentleman. He really showed his true colors there.
And Becca stopped it and said, I will come find you before the end, which she does. And he said, I messed up. I wouldn't be here for you, if I really wasn't serious about this. We don't know what happens, because then the rose ceremony kicks in. And Chris ends up getting the very last rose.
By the skin of his teeth.
And John goes home, who's a really nice guy. I just think he was probably in the friend zone.
Absolutely.
Which you never want to be.
No, you're right. There's been several guys that have been in that zone. And I just never saw him that much. I never saw the spark. Very nice guy, but she's just not for me.
And I think we have not seen the end with the drama with Chris coming up in at least next week. If he's around past that, I'd be surprised.
I predict he's gone.
Yeah, I think there's some more issues with him coming up.
I agree. Leslie, as always, thank you.
Yeah, it's fun.
Now watch the next episode of The Bachelorette, airing on KGUN 9 Monday nights at 7. Then tune into The Blend on Tuesday like you did today for a recap. And be sure to visit 1063thegroove.com to read Leslie's blog.